From my heart and from my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
Computer running slow?
I'm waiting.
Caught a virus?
Wait.
Does your computer seem to have a life of its own?
Malfunction. Need input.
The computer guru is here.
Thank God you're here!
Call in now.
Now it's Mike Swanson, your computer guru.
Hello and welcome to the Computer Guru Show. My name is Mike, here to deal with your technology needs and treat you like a person in the process. 790-2040 if you want to be part of the show. Once again, that's 520-790-2040. Would love to hear from you. How you doing over there, Ken?
I'm doing all right.
All
Pushing
right.
buttons and moving things, and
I know, look at
stuff
that.
is happening.
It is a solo show today. It's just
happening.
just me and you, man.
You and me.
Yeah. As we've discussed before, it means that I have lazy counterparts on the show.
Oh, well, you know.
They're not lazy.
No, they're not.
They have lives and I don't, is pretty much what that really translates to. Yeah, they have things to do. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to go do a radio show then because nobody loves me.
I don't know, man.
790-2040 if you want to show the love. Should we start with the call?
Yeah, man. We had Jeff,
Jeff been
showed
waiting
up like
a while?
5 minutes before the show started, man. You want to get first in line.
All right. Okay, Jeff. Let's hear it, man. Oh, Jeff's not even there. Or you put him on hold, didn't you?
Had on the wrong button. Sorry.
Yeah, click the right button, will you? Make him so he's not red. Make him green.
He should be on.
He's not.
Is he there?
No.
Hello?
Oh,
there
hey,
he
Jeff.
is.
How
I know
are you?
he's on there.
Hey, what's happening, guys?
Oh, not a whole lot. What can I do for you?
Well, first, thanks for getting me on quick, Mike. Appreciate that.
You were waiting, so figured I'd get you in here.
2 questions on backup. Windows 10 desktop, doing Windows backup with a hard drive external. Can I assume that my Outlook emails are being saved? I have a bunch of emails that I would actually like to make sure they're saved in the event of a catastrophic emergency. Does it save those by default, or do I need to do something special?
Depends on the type of account you're talking about. So, what is after the @ symbol? Is this a regular mail provider like Gmail or something?
It's Outlook from the Microsoft 365 Outlook 2016 and it pulls from Gmail and Comcast emails.
Okay, and so is this just a regular like inbox type thing, or is it a separate archive that you're concerned about? I
am not sure what you mean by that. I have Outlook with a bunch of folders and accounts that I pull from on this machine.
Okay, so here's the good and the bad news about this. Is it being backed up? Yes. Is that backup useful to you? No. All right, because Outlook stores, you're saying you're pulling from an Outlook.com account. And Outlook.com accounts store in the OST format. So that file that's being saved on the hard drive is this OST format. And everything inside of that file is effectively unretrievable if something terrible happens. Regardless of whatever happens, that file is almost useless. It is only useful for basically caching information to make things faster. So everything is actually stored on the server. So in the event that your machine goes down, you have a catastrophic failure of the machine, all of that mail is stored on the Outlook.com server. And it will just repopulate. So the good news is you don't necessarily have to back that file up because it's being backed up elsewhere. And in the event of a failure, all that mail will come back anyway, even your folders.
Okay, so we don't need to worry about additional backup for that stuff since it's already on the servers. Okay.
Right. The only time that would be useful is if you're doing a full image restore. Let's say that you had you're restoring everything back to default. Right. You started with a clean install of Windows, and then you used that backup to restore Windows to your machine in its entirety. Then that file is useful because then the server doesn't have to rebuild the entire data cache. But if anything changes, like you end up having to recreate the mail account, you cannot reattach that OST file back to the newly created account.
Okay.
So, like I said, it's good that you're doing backups. Of course, you know how I am about backups. But that file being backed up is kind of pointless.
Okay. And lastly, Mike, OneDrive, I have access to that with the subscription. I put it on my C drive. I have a C drive and a D drive. The C drive is the fast, what do you call it, the SSD drive.
Right, solid state.
Yes. However, that folder is I'm not too familiar with how OneDrive works, but I'm learning. But the folder is like 80 gigs, and it's pushing the limit of my drive. So I tried to drag and drop it in folder view to get it on the huge D drive. It's not letting me do that. It says it defaults to create a link, or if I right-click the OneDrive folder, I can't cut it and copy it or
because
anywhere.
it's in use.
Is there any way around that?
Yeah, you can. It's kind of an advanced procedure, but what you can do is you can set up something called a junction or a hard link, and it requires a little bit of finagling, right? You're going to have to get into safe mode, make sure OneDrive isn't running, and then you can create a new folder over on the secondary drive, and then do a junction or a hard link from where it thinks it is to where it actually is. And there are some instructions on how to do this, how to move the OneDrive store. There's some registry edits that you can do to actually just physically move it, just to tell it to operate on the other drive. But I find it to be easier to work with the junctions, actually.
Okay, I can look that up.
And it's something that, if you get lost or whatever, we can help you.
Appreciate that.
All right. Well, thanks for the call, Jeff.
Thanks.
Well, that's nice to open the show with a call. What do you think? All right. What was big news this week? Because I have all my notes numbered this week, which is weird, just because I knew I was going to be alone, so I couldn't kind of riff this week.
It's like paint by numbers.
Yeah, so now I have to guru show by numbers right now, and so we'll start with number one, which was FBI reopening the email case for Hillary Clinton, which I thought was interesting news. Now, there's a lot of people that are saying, well, this is obviously politically motivated, and I disagree. I mean, I'm sure that there was some thought as to how that would maybe affect what's going on, but I don't think that it was motivated by such. I think it was mostly motivated by Anthony Weiner, as far as, they snatched up his devices for sending sexually explicit text and pictures to a minor. And on that device, which happened to be shared with Huma, they found a whole bunch of emails that were possibly the ones that were unable to be found previously because they were deleted off the server. And really, they're being kind of vague about it. They're saying, well, we just found some stuff we want to take a look at. We're letting you know that we're taking a look at these things. We don't know if they're relevant or not. But man, that's interesting timing. I don't know. I think it's the whole idea of the Clinton mail server fiasco is one of these ones. Now, I don't endorse or condemn either candidate. As you know, I'm very politically neutral when it comes to these things. But there's a certain irritance, right? I find it irritating that because I have to abide by all of these specific rules when it comes to technology, because part of it's my job and making sure that everybody is compliant with all of whatever regulations or compliance standards that they need to be compliant by, that someone can be compelled and say, we want you to turn over your server to us, your entire email setup as is. And how would it fare for me if the government came in and said, all right, we need you to turn over your mail server as is? And I said, hold on, let me go ahead and delete everything I think is irrelevant to you, right? Whether that be accurately irrelevant or just things that, as a cover for me to delete whatever evidence. And then delay by almost a year, then have the server wiped, and then turn it over, right? So how would that work out for me?
You would be in one of those buildings off of South Wilmot.
Maybe, yeah. And so I very much dislike the double standard that is happening in this particular case. And it has nothing to do with me about the politics of it, as far as the party politics of it, but more along the lines of why is there a double standard here that is, in my opinion, just untenable. Right? This is something that I cannot put up with.
Just so obvious.
It appears that way. Now, it could be that the whole thing is misrepresented. It could be that it is, it could be conspiratorial to think that there is something more going on than just, hey, you know what? That's maybe they didn't ask her very clearly for, for those emails. Who knows? But I think it's interesting that these government entities and these investigative entities can say, well, we can find data, or I guess it's more interesting for me to say that I find it suspect that you have these politicians which are voting in favor of making sure that there is a surveillance state when it comes to technology. They're the ones that are supporting this idea that the government should be able to backdoor your phone or have access to all of your data or have some way of tracking everyone, either whether it be because of terrorism or because of won't somebody think of the children. But at the same time, there are the same politicians that are like, well, you can't look at my stuff. You can't look at unless I say it's relevant to you. You don't have the authority to look into this, to talk about it. And I find that to be a bit of a double standard, which makes me a little bit nuts. And then I have to get on the radio and start complaining about it and getting upset with everything. But anyway, if you have something to add on this, you can give me a call. 790-2040 if you want to be part of the show here. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it and just to see what's going on. In the meantime, I'll mention a sponsor, which is Perfection AutoWorks. You can visit their website at perfectionautoworks.com. As it is cooling off now, you can get yourself some spooky deals over there, I'm sure. You just go ahead and check out their website. Listen to their ad that's coming up next. Get your 26-point inspection for free. Tara's not here to say free, but free. And because it's our favorite number. And check them out because they have been just wonderful friends to us by helping support the show and helping pay some of the crazy costs of having an expensive hobby like a radio show. We'll be right back after these.
Pots and pans, bits and pieces, and magic from the handle make weird signs. Things I've never seen before. Behind closed doors.
Your computer guru, Mike Swanson, is here to help you tame that beast of a machine. Join the chat right now at gurushow.com or call in. This is the Computer Guru Show on KV. Your technology guru, Mike Swanson, is answering all your questions one by one.
Yes, science!
So chime in with yours. The website is gurushow.com. Tune in, click in, and kick back. This is the Computer Guru Show.
Welcome back to the Computer Guru Show. My name is Mike, here to deal with your technology needs and treat you like a person in the process. 790-2040 if you want to be part of the show. So in the chat, there was a comment saying, well, how was the server wiped? And let's talk about BleachBit for a second. So yeah, sure. We'll go ahead and follow up on that. BleachBit is it's a multiple overwrite delete program. So it used to be something called a double overwrite delete, where you would take a program or any data that's on the machine, you would say, go ahead and delete this file. Now, under normal circumstances, when you delete a file, it just removes a very special bit on the front of the file, and it just says, this file is marked for deletion. It technically no longer exists. Now, it's still sitting there, but your computer then ignores that data and says, well, that's not there anymore, because that space is going to be overwritten by other things in the future. And so a program like BleachBit, and there are a few others out there that do this type of thing, they will then not only remove that delete bit or set the delete bit, but they will also take all of the data and overwrite it with zeros, and then overwrite it with ones and zeros, and multiple times it will overwrite that file just to make sure that it is not recoverable via traditional methods, and in some cases via any methods, depending on how many times it was written and whether or not it deals with the backup copies and the FAT table and stuff like that. So There is that was the program that was used on Hillary Clinton's server. Right? It's a freeware program, by the way. You can download BleachBit. It doesn't cost you anything if you want to delete something very, very securely. And it takes a long time.
So it's gone?
Oh, it's gone.
At BleachBit?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are certain instances where if you don't do it right, you will think it's gone, but there's really some method to recovery. But I would say it's a pretty safe bet to say that once you BleachBit a file or a drive, it is unrecoverable. It's pretty much dead. So it's an interesting piece of software. And, I don't use that type of stuff for my own deletion because, one, if chances are I probably might want to undelete something that I delete. But at the same time, I'm also not trying to, cover up the fact that I've violated any type of federal data handling practices. Let's go and talk to Charles. Hey, Charles, how are you?
Better for hearing your voice. Good morning. I look forward to this as a Saturday ritual. And I want to tell you two things. Number one, boy, do I agree with you on double standards. It'd be, talking about expensive hobbies, man, it'd be like, like an expensive cars and wanting to do a radio show. That'd be terrible.
I know.
Anyway, I want to tell you about two experiences I had with going to your business. One was about a week and a half ago. I bopped in with a laptop that I couldn't get a level on to do recordings. And about 3 prestidigitations and 2 manipulations, and within 30 seconds you had the problem fixed, and I was out the door. I bought a computer on the swap shop for a very low price, an older one, and I couldn't get a video. I couldn't get it to put out any video. I couldn't see the screen at all. And I thought, oh no, somebody sold me a bad computer. I took it in there yesterday, and your technician said, which video card did you plug it into? I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, look at the back of your computer. There's been an add-on video card put into the machine. I went, duh, you're right. He goes, which one did you put it in? I said, that one. He goes, try this one. I said, oh. He says, well, you're here. Let me throw it on the bench. I'd say 90 seconds later, the computer was working great. And once again, on the road, nobody had to crack a case or do anything. That's very good service. B, that's tremendous integrity. Some places you could go would say, oh, we'll have to fix this. And, $130 later, it would have worked great, and the customer would have never known the difference. Not at your place.
Nope, that's not the way we operate. Well, thanks.
So I just got to tell you, I'm not taking computers anywhere else from now on.
Excellent. Well, thanks, Charles. Tell everyone you know.
Well, when people call me occasionally on the air with a computer problem, I tell them 304-8300. So.
Well, you're supposed to say it slower than that. This whole speed of the pen thing that you talked about?
Darn it, you got me. Yeah, hoist on my own petard. I deserve that. 304-8300. I just got back every nag I've ever given you all in one.
There you go. Thanks for calling, Charles. I appreciate it. And I'm glad that your machines are working well for you. All right. So if you want to be part of the show, give us a call, 790-2040. I almost said my own phone number there for a second. All right. So the big internet outage from last week. Now, this is going to be a recurring theme just because there new information has come to light as far as what was going on there. And we still don't know much about motivations, but we know a bit more about the how on things happened. And as an interesting test, The Atlantic, I don't know if you're familiar with that publication, but they decided to do an interesting test. They spun up an Amazon web server and an Amazon service, and basically built a fake internet toaster, internet connected IoT device, and it was opened on an SSH port, which is what was required for the internet outage of last week. And a majority of the traffic came from webcams, internet-connected webcams that nobody had changed the username and password for, the default root password for these older cameras. And a huge majority of the traffic was coming from those devices. And it turns out that it used to be back in the day, in order to find open ports, in order to find things like, an SSH connected device on the internet, you had to go through a rather time-consuming process of scanning the entire internet, looking for open ports. And let's say that I have one computer, and I'm like, you know what? I want to start scanning the internet, and I begin on the zeros address and end on the all 255's address. That's billions of addresses, and it's going to take a really long time. A really long time, like lifetime of time. But it turns out that the hackers of today, or the people who are looking for exploits of today, are using different methods. They're using botnets, and they're dividing up the workload across thousands or tens of thousands of machines. And it turns out that you can do an entire scan of the internet in about a half an hour and look for just about any device that's connected on any given port. And with the sophistication of the port scanners now, where they can do random port scanning or random IP scanning rather than sequential, it'll bypass most of the routers that are looking for that type of behavior and say, well, you look like you're scanning the internet. Let's shut you down when it comes to this particular router. So they created this fake toaster, and they put it out there on the internet, open port, and it has a login, and it's asking for a login, and it turns out that many of first of all, how long do you think it took before they got their first hack attempt?
35 seconds.
Well, that's a little tight. It was less than 30 minutes.
Okay.
And as a new IP address, they just put it out there, just launched it. Reports its first breach in 30 minutes.
That's pretty darn quick still.
It's really fast. And it was using the password of root, or a username of root, and then by the way, it was set to allow you into it just by putting root as the username, root as the password, which is a default for some devices that are out there. But they were logging all of these, and they were like, what is this looking for? And so they would use the username root and the password of XC3511, which is the default password for those cameras that were used in the attack from last week. So they're still out there looking for these devices. And I think it's interesting that somebody's written scripts and utilized botnets to the level of, we can find your device in a half an hour. And most experts are saying, security experts are saying, that your likelihood of being attacked if you are a device that's directly connected to the internet is 100%. And in a matter of days, if not considerably less than that, and in some cases 30 minutes. There is an inevitability that we have to consider whenever you're connecting something directly to the internet. Somebody's going to find a way into that device and find a way to exploit it. And and it's a certain type of thing, like, if you drive a car, there's an inevitability that at some point you're going to be in a car accident, right? It's one of those things, right? It's statistically improbable that you are going to go your entire life without being in a car accident if you drive on the roads in any capacity. And the same thing is true with technology, only it's a whole lot faster, especially with the invention of these seeking botnets. Now, the botnets themselves are infected machines. These are machines that have already been compromised. They're doing the bidding of someone else. And in fact, you can rent these botnets if you want to go ahead and search for things on the internet or attack things on the internet yourself. There are ways that you can rent these botnets and do all kinds of terrible things with them.
Rent a bot.
Right, and chances are, statistically speaking, of the people listening to this show, about 20% of them are part of those botnets themselves and don't even know it.
Wow.
Their machines are already infected. It's running in the background, especially if you're running an older machine like XP, especially XP, because that's partly the reason that XP was pushed out and 7 was pushed out as harshly as it was, is because they were a part of botnets. They had no way to undo it. They couldn't find a reasonable method to fix those holes and said, okay, we're just going to go ahead and create a new operating system here. We're not even going to deal with fixing this old one or burning it down. And so chances are that if you, the listening audience, were to say, I'm going to go out and rent a botnet, there's a 20% chance that your machine that you are currently using, your everyday use machine, is already a part of that botnet that you would rent. And it's kind of a scary statistic to think that 20% of the world's machines are, and some people are saying as high as 50%, but I'm going with the lower, percentage on this. And I think that it's more around like 20%, 25% at the highest. But they're saying that it could be upwards as half of all machines are already compromised and part of a botnet, which is looking for other machines to otherwise infect or to provide some type of a denial of service attack, or using it to scan for open ports to find other devices. Not to mention that many of the devices that are out there are ones that you just don't even think about, like that internet-connected refrigerator or toaster that you may have, or the thermostat, or those security cameras, especially security cameras that are out there that are web-connected. And there are a couple of ways that you can mitigate this. All right, one of which is have a decent router which isn't compromised. So that means if you have a router that's older, let's say 4 or 5 years old, there's a very high likelihood that that router is already compromised, either because of a flaw in the software, which it just came out of the factory able to be compromised, or because you didn't change the passwords on it and somebody managed to go in there and make changes to that device without you knowing about it. So newer devices, I don't know if you've purchased any new routers recently, but if you get any new like residential class router, it forces you to change the password. And manufacturers like Netgear have decided that they no longer have a default password. They basically just print the password, the default password, the password for that device on the bottom of that device, and it's randomized. It's different for every device that goes out. So long gone are the days where just admin works. And if you have a device where you haven't changed the router password to something a little bit more secure, then you're possibly compromising your own safety as far as your data integrity, or your internet bandwidth may be being used for purposes other than what you are asking it to do. And especially in the days of data caps now, where you could have a device on your network that is just, it's out there scanning the internet, it's chewing up all kinds of data, and you get a report at the end of the month that you used up all your data, maybe went over and get charged extra, and you didn't even use your computer that month, then you know why, right? A password on one of the devices didn't get changed, or you have some type of an infection, or you've otherwise become part of a botnet. And it's important to make sure that you are taking steps to ensure your safety on the internet, and the safety of others. All right, you're helping protect others if you can keep your machine and your devices from being compromised. So, yeah, make sure you're running virus scans on your stuff. Make sure you have Malwarebytes on your PCs. Make sure that you've changed all your default passwords on all of your devices. And that'll help. That'll help quite a bit. And if you need help with that, you give us a call down at the shop at 304-8300. We'll be right back after these messages right here on KVOI, The Voice.
Whether you're dealing with hardware installation or, heaven forbid, a virus,
No!
Mike Swanson is answering all your questions one by one. So call in or chat in with yours. The website, gurushow.com. Tune in, click in, and kick back. This is the Computer Guru Show on AM 1030 KVOY The Voice. Mike Swanson, your computer guru, is just a click away. Listen and watch at gurushow.com. This is the Computer Guru Show on KVOI, The Voice.
Welcome back to the show, 790-2040. If you want to be involved, you can give me a call, ask me whatever technology issue you may be having. We'll see if we can help you out. Charles, they're talking about you in the chat, just so you know. You can go to gurushow.com/chat if you want to, acknowledge what's being said or, defend yourself. Just kidding. I'm not saying anything bad. But you're being mentioned, and any of you can go in there and have a discussion. And you can also ask your questions that method if you like. gurushow.com/chat. Also, if you're interested in listening to previous episodes or want to be able to catch the show and other avenues, you can go to YouTube and look for our show there. You can go to gurushow.com. There's links to all of the things that I talk about here. Also links to the socials, so you have the opportunity to sort of get the middle of the week rants or articles that manage to go out. Also, we've been cutting a bunch of the sort of previous episodes from the backlog from I think years 5 through 8, and been putting different excerpts of those shows out there. I don't know if we're doing any previous seasons, so like seasons 2 or 3 or something like that. But I don't even know if we still have those. It's hard to keep track of all that data.
They're somewhere.
I'm sure they exist somewhere.
On a drive somewhere.
Yeah, if not, I'm sure that some listener has a copy of all of the old episodes somewhere. But anyway, yeah, if you want to participate in the show, you can get in there and jump in the chat or give us a call, 790-2040.
Can you mention bundles real quick about that caller called in?
Oh, yeah.
Want to just talk about bundles?
They asked, what were they asking? Like which?
I just want to know what the best bundle was here in Tucson.
You mean like
at this time that you know of?
Internet?
Correct. Phone, internet.
None of those are a good deal, though.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, and a lot of it's just going to depend on where you live.
Yeah.
Right. So, as with everything internet related, it's all geography based. So, depending on where you live is going to limit you to what you can get. But as it turns out, that I don't think any of the bundles are really a good idea. Your mic's on, by the way.
KVOI.
Do
you have a question for the guru? Is this Les?
All right, so you have to ignore your mic is on.
Sorry about that, Les.
So, yeah, depending on where you're at in the world, your bundle options are going to be limited, and I don't think they're a great idea anyway. I mean, in some cases you can save a little bit of money, but like, who needs a landline phone anymore? Why would you even have one? I guess is the question. And in some cases, having a phone line is useful, but in most residential cases, I can't really see the added expense or justification of a landline, seeing everybody has a cell phone these days. So why would you even want that landline there? Now, if somebody does want a landline and finds it useful, then that bundle could save you a little bit of money. But I think it's like anything else. It's that sale where you manage to, something is 5% off, so you buy 2 of them, right? And you're only saving nothing, like negative 85%, because you bought 2 when you didn't need to. So I guess the same thing goes for bundles, in my opinion. You don't necessarily need to spend the extra money on services that you wouldn't normally get anyway, even though they're saying, if you spend this extra $40 to add the phone service to the bundle, we'll give you $20 off your internet every month. And it's just like, well, why? I'd rather just pay the extra $20 for internet and not have the service that is not useful to me. So that's where I'm at on the bundles thing. In some cases, like I said, a case can be made that it's useful, but most often I think that it's just going to be a waste of money. And that's where I'm at with that. Let's see. Do I have the ability to put a call on here? Let's go ahead and talk to Les. Hello, Les. How are you?
Fine. Thank you. I have a question regarding dragging and dropping on Windows 10. It used to be if I use Chrome or Firefox, and they have something like, I have a thing called the Pogo plug. You can drag and drop files onto it, and I can only do it if I am on Edge. If I try to go to either Firefox or Chrome, it doesn't let me do it on Windows 10. On the same computer, if I run off my Windows 7 or Windows 8, it'll work fine. And I was wondering if that's something you knew anything about.
That's not a 10 thing because I do plenty of dragging and dropping out of Chrome in 10. So it might be something specific to your setup there. But that feature has not been disabled in 10. You should be able
it seemed like it's forcing me to want to use Edge, which is fine. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's just something I thought maybe somebody else had come across that you had.
Yeah,
had seen.
First of all, I'm going to disagree. That probably is the end of the world because Edge is terrible. But no, the dragging
so bad.
The dragging and dropping feature is not something that has been nerfed in Windows 10. So that means that there's something going on with your setup there. And because Chrome and Firefox use the same or a very similar back end, it would make sense that it would affect both of them. So there's something going on there with maybe a focus setting or something. I'm not sure what would cause that off the top of my head, but interestingly enough, Windows 10 has some weirdness when it comes to dragging and dropping. As an example, on my desktop computer at home, I can do dragging and dropping, no big deal. And I recently did a clean install of Windows 10 on my laptop, and for some reason, I can't drag emails from one folder to another in Outlook on the laptop. Don't know why. I haven't had a chance to look into it yet. But, so there's some weirdness when it comes to like dragging and dropping in all variants of Windows 10 for some reason. But I'm not sure what causes that yet. So anyway, I'm thinking that, unfortunately, I'm not much help for you because I don't know why it's not letting you do it off the top of my head. But maybe
it's just one of those quirks.
It's
It also, the other weird thing I also notice is sometimes if you, like within an email, if you set, like if I set Chrome as my, or Firefox, I think in the same case as my default browser, and I forgot how it was. If Chrome was open and I clicked on, say, a link in an email, it would come up with some weird message. It wouldn't work right. You actually had to have Chrome closed and then click on the link, and then it would open up. So I ended up just letting Edge be my default for that stuff, and it was more of an annoying thing, but I don't know what was going on. It might be related.
Well,
Does that make sense?
There's a certain desperation that is happening on Microsoft's part when it comes to the browser wars. And in Windows 10, you now have two places. It used to be that you could just click, you open up Firefox or Chrome, and it would say, hey, we're not your default browser. Would you like to be? And you would click yes, and then that was it. That was now your default browser. And that's no longer the case in Windows 10. So if you open up a browser and you click on, hey, let's go ahead and make this my default, you then have to open up the control panel in Windows and go to your defaults, click on the web browser, and then manually change it to Chrome or Firefox or whatever you're using. And Windows 10 has recently added, when you go to change it, it says, hey, are you sure? Because, there's some great features. Edge is lonely. Are you sure you want to switch away? And so now you have to not only go through the extra steps of diving into the control panel to make that change, you then have to confirm that you want to make that change and have Microsoft give you a little sad face about you changing away. So that could have something to do with it, specifically because Outlook ignores whatever browser you have open, right? It says most programs, when you click on a link, let's say you're in Chrome, and you click on a link within Chrome, it automatically knows to use Chrome to open the next tab or whatever. Outlook ignores that completely and looks directly at the control panel settings. Regardless of whatever browser you have open, it says, I'm going to go see what you have set as your default browser or have not set as your default browser, and then I'm going to go ahead and try to use that. And it's a weirdness of Outlook itself, and it's existed in a few versions where Outlook would even override whatever was your default browser and just assume to open Internet Explorer as your clickable link. And so I think that's one of those things where hopefully it's just a weirdness, just some quirk in the software.
It's not a problem. I also had the same thing with it in Thunderbird. As I use Outlook and I use Thunderbird for things in, and the same thing. You click on a link in Thunderbird, and so I changed it to Edge, and it's for the most part it's fine. It's just like, say, one of those little quirks.
Yeah, I would reinstall both Firefox and Chrome and see if that fixed your problem.
That would.
Those settings.
I mean,
all your settings in Chrome and Firefox, if you're signed in Chrome, and if you're synced properly in Firefox, all those settings will come back as soon as you reinstall it. So shouldn't be a big deal.
I haven't synced the one. Okay. Well, I thank you for this call, and I said if something comes up and I figure it out, maybe I'll call in and let you know what I found.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, more of your phone calls at 790-2040.
Computer troubles? Need some advice? Call in now. Mike Swanson will be back after these messages. The Computer Guru Show, AM 1030, KVOY, The Voice. Mike Swanson, your computer guru, is just a click away. Listen and watch at gurushow.com. This is the Computer Guru Show.
So do you remember that Apple leak where nude celebrities, nude photos of celebrities came out? That was about 2 years ago.
Vaguely.
Maybe 3 years ago. It's a while back. It was this big iCloud leak, and everybody jumped all over Apple's case about their, the integrity of their data store and stuff like that. And now we have more information now that sentencing has taken place for that particular hacker. We have more details as far as exactly what happened. And it was basically targeted phishing attack where he sent them emails pretending to be Gmail or iCloud saying, hey, you need to update your password, and they did. And so basically they gave up. Over 100 celebrities, it turns out, gave up their information. And this guy was just like kind of logging in, checking out their stuff, and making backups of it and putting it out on the internet. And so he got sentenced 18 months in prison for hacking, for exploiting that information. I don't know. On some level, I think it's kind of a light sentence.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that he probably should have been slapped a little bit harder for that. It is a violation of privacy.
Yeah, well, you can wipe a server after a subpoena and not do anything.
Yeah, well, you can get not even charges filed.
There you go.
Right, there you go. And so, speaking of hackers and vulnerabilities, which we have, it turns out that there's a critical piece of infrastructure that is using technology that has zero security in order to do day-to-day operations. That would be nuclear power plants. That's scary. They use pagers to communicate with one another and talk about the status of the plant, which are completely unencrypted, very easy to pick up just straight out of the air, right? Because they're analog. I mean, it's just like, come on, man, right? You can just pick that stuff up, no big deal. Just read whatever, even inject tweets or not tweets, pages if you wanted to. You could just go ahead and start sending pages as another person if you were feeling ultra sophisticated. Oh man, what? Come on, guys. Why can't we just get with the times here? It's this kind of a place that produces energy that could potentially be a bomb. Come on. Get with it, guys. We'll be right back after these messages on KVOI.
From my hand, why don't people understand my intention?
Computer running slow?
I'm waiting.
Caught a virus?
Wait.
Does your computer seem to have a life of its own?
Malfunction. Need input.
The computer guru is here.
My God, you're him!
Call in now.
Now it's Mike Swanson, your computer guru.
Hello and welcome to the Computer Guru Show. My name's Mike, here to deal with your technology needs and treat you like a person in the process. Give us a call at 790-2040 if you want to be part of the show. You can lay whatever technological issues you may be having on me, and I'll see what I can do to help you out. Now, before the break, we were talking about how pagers were being used in nuclear power plants and how it's a security risk because they're completely uninfected. I mean, you can go down to Radio Shack and get a $20 basically programmable radio dongle and listen in on whatever pages are happening. And in some cases, you might be able to use that information. Now, a lot of that information that was being intercepted was whatever. It was, just times and dates and the occasional first name or something along those lines, or they're talking about how there might be a maintenance issue in a specific area and stuff like that, which is all relatively innocuous data. But if someone felt like being a little more, not nice, all right, you could use that information to do like a targeted social campaign against the employees. As an example, you could know that there was some type of a maintenance issue that needed to be dealt with, and then pose as a person that is there to affect those repairs. Or you could infect the system in some way by getting someone's name or other information and using a targeted system to get their usernames and passwords. Just a couple of months ago, security researchers had found out that in Germany there was what they suspect to be state-sponsored malware in nuclear power plants that had been there for in excess of 5 years before it had been noticed, before it had been brought to the attention of the people who work there. And in some cases, these malware, especially the state-sponsored ones like Stuxnet, they could do real physical damage to these types of places, like by manipulating which valves were open or otherwise changing the speeds of certain things, and causing some real problems. And in fact, possibly causing meltdown scenarios, depending on how well the infection was written and how much you could confuse the people who work there by making changes or otherwise diverting their attention somewhere else. So I just find it crazy that there is no encryption when dealing with the intercommunications of people at power plants. I mean, even small doctors' offices are required to have end-to-end encryption to have any communication involving any type of patient data, even with each other in the same building. Why wouldn't you have encrypted data when you're dealing with things like nuclear power plants? Come on, people.
All good questions.
Get on it, man. Get on it. Let's go ahead and take a call here. We'll talk to Pat. Hey, Pat, how are you?
Hey, Mike. I so agree with you about the power plants. My husband is an retired.
You got to turn off your radio so you don't hear yourself. It makes it easier to speak.
Yeah. I kind of forget what the heck I'm going to say. But anyway, he was a nuclear launch officer here on the Titan II system. And
right.
He had all the power in the world to blow up Russia.
Right.
And I assumed that the Air Force encrypted it. Well,
I hope so.
I hope so, but then they deactivated it. So.
Right on. What can I help you with, Pat?
Yeah, it's a minor question, Mike, but it's driving me crazy. I'm an old person, so I get on Facebook, and I turn off chat because I don't chat.
Right.
And yet the format never goes away. I mean, it's like a ghost on the right side of my screen, and I'm thinking, what do I do?
To make the chat stuff go away?
Yeah.
Well, it's not all chat over on the right, and that's the way that they can manage to keep that stuff in front of you. It gives you the option to chat if you want to, but it's more of a, hey, these are people that you know, and this is what they're doing online right now.
Yeah, and I don't really care what they're doing online. I just want to look at what I want to look at, and I mean, it's just.
I don't think that you're going to have a whole lot of option to change that.
Oh, okay.
Now,
all right, Mike.
If you're using something like uBlock, or especially the Origin version, which is the one that we tell people to use, you have the option to tell uBlock that you don't ever want to see that pane again, and it'll just hide it.
Oh, okay.
It'll require you to sort of tinker a little bit, though.
Yeah. Well, I've got a few computers to bring into you.
All right. Well, bring them on by. We'll teach you how to do it.
Okay, Mike. Thanks so much.
All right.
Appreciate your help in your program.
Thank you very much, Pat. Appreciate
Bye.
the call. If you'd like to be part of the show, 790-2040. We'll see what we can do to help you out there. Do me a favor, turn off your radio if you call. Yeah. Just kind of mute it there a little bit. Makes it easier for everyone to hear and you to think. Because it happens all the time. Everybody, you hear themselves, and then they're like, they freeze up.
Well, 7 seconds later, too.
Right, yeah, with the delay. Yeah, just in case somebody decides to swear on air. Like Pat. Just kidding.
Just a little one.
That one didn't require, leaping up and pressing the big red button.
Good thing.
Yeah. Have we had to do that on the show on KVOI?
Not on this show. I've had to do it one time, I think. Well,
I bet you the morning show gets that.
Yeah, probably more so.
People tend to be all riled up after their coffee in the morning talking about politics.
Sunday afternoon, but I won't be specific on the show.
All right. Okay. Well, mystery solved then, I guess. 790-2040 if you want to be part of the show. So speaking of exploits and weaknesses, there's a new code injection method that exposes all versions of Windows to attack. And here's the good news. There's no fix. Good news being that sarcastically, there is no fix for this. There's an exploit that manages to leverage the sort of underpinnings of how Windows talks to. Basically, it's an API that takes all of the sensitive information and uses that to allow programs to speak to each other. And so this new vulnerability leverages that system, this sort of underpinning, and allows them to elevate privileges for a program. As an example, if you're to run a piece of software, somebody sends you a piece of software, and that piece of software doesn't have any access to get things like passwords or access to any of the sensitive data that is stored within Windows. So what it can do is it can ask another program that does have access. As an example, the browser. So if you're using Internet Explorer or Chrome or any of them, they have access to encrypted passwords because they're allowed to save encrypted passwords into the system. And so that software can then ask another software, hey, can you grab me this password? And that software would oblige. And so there's a vulnerability here that is, first of all, unheard of. Nobody knows how this got overlooked in the first place. But secondly, there's no way to stop it right now. But it's only for programs, only machines that need to worry about this are machines that are currently compromised. You have to be infected in order for this exploit to take place. So if you can stop the infection before it happens, or just be really careful and not get infected, then you won't have this to worry about. And in fact, I imagine that there will be, just because of the severity and scope of this, there will be some type of fix for this in the very near future. And antivirus companies will probably be looking for this type of behavior. Although, as of right now, the sort of test exploits that they set up for this are completely ignored by antivirus. I have no way of stopping it because it seems like a legitimate request according to the antivirus. And it has ways of masking itself so it can be unseen. So, try not to be infected in the first place, and that'll help you out quite a bit and making sure that you don't get yourself into trouble here. All right, let's take a call here. Let's talk to you, Barry. Hello, Barry. How are you?
Good, Mike. How are you?
Lovely, sir. How can I help you?
I have a desktop running on Windows 7 that apparently has been infected by something called SADMAth.
Okay.
Is that something you're familiar with?
Well, I don't know them by name anymore just because I see so many of them. But what's the behavior on it?
Well, it opens a window that covers everything else, and sometimes I have to close it 2 or 3 times to be able to get back to what I was doing.
Is this a browser window, or is this a non-browser window that's opening?
Browser.
Okay, so it's browser hijack. Okay.
And I'm guessing it's the kind of thing that I probably just need to bring the tower in and let you guys go through it.
You could. I would start with, if you have the ability to use the machine still, I would start with like a Malwarebytes scan just to see what's going on there. Most of the time, the browser hijacks, if they're just a browser hijack, they do this really good job of trying to scare you, but they don't really have any real power until you call that phone number that's usually involved with that.
This one isn't giving me any kind of a phone number. It's just a blank screen, and sometimes it'll layer screens, but it's not asking me for anything or giving me a phone number.
So it's a completely blank screen? What antivirus do you have on there?
Kaspersky.
Okay, and using any type of, do you have Malwarebytes on the machine?
No.
Okay. If it's not asking you for anything, that page that it's trying to show you is likely being blocked by the antivirus or by the browser itself. Because what it's trying to do is show you a phone number to call. And then it's trying to scare you and say, hey, your machine's infected. Give us a call. We can straighten you out. And then at that point, you would end up giving up credit card information or otherwise giving up access to the machine. So you're partially protected here by something, either it be the browser itself or by the antivirus that is preventing that page from being shown. So it's likely just a browser hijack. Get Malwarebytes, start the trial on it or buy it because it's the only piece of software that I tell people to buy, and run that, and that'll make that go away for you.
Very good. Thank you.
I could have just said, go ahead and bring it down and we'll take $150 from you. But in this case, I'm just going to say, this is what you do. Try it out. If it doesn't work, then, or if the infection is more severe, then you definitely need to bring it in.
Very good. I appreciate it.
All right. Appreciate the call, Barry. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And then when we get back, we're going to go ahead and take more phone calls at 790-2040. Yeah. We got to stay on the clock here, man. We got to be on it. You don't want to get in trouble with the radio station. We'll be right back.
Your computer guru, Mike Swanson, is here to help you tame that beast of a machine. Join the chat right now at gurushow.com or call in. This is the Computer Guru Show on KVOY, The Voice.
I'm nerdy in the extreme and whiter than sour cream. I was in AV club and glee club and even the chess team. Only question I ever thought was hard was, do I like Kirk or do I like Picard? Spend every weekend at the Renaissance Fair. Got my name on my underwear. They see me strolling.
Welcome back to the Computer Guru Show. My name is Mike, here to deal with your technology needs and treat you like a person in the process. We're going to start with, I'm going to go and throw this out before we get to the phones here. What we're going to talk about after the calls is an app. Now, you guys know how I have this interest in how technology and the community at large, right? Humanity, how it's affected by these changes or these technologies that we are presented with. And one of which is an app which recently made it into the Apple Store, and it's called Vigilante. And it's getting a lot of flack because it is being recognized as a tool for mob justice. And it's tied together with GPS and police scanners, and basically allows you to see on a map where crime is happening right now. And it's a very interesting idea. I'd love to know what you guys think about it or what your thoughts are on it. So think about that while we're taking some calls here. And if you want to call in, you can, 790-2040. Let's go ahead and talk to Tina. Debbie. Hello, Debbie. How are you?
Hi. I'm calling regarding, I did not get Windows 10. I didn't switch over to 10. I still have Windows 7.
Okay.
And I noticed in my history update that the last one was like 10.13, and I'm like thinking, shouldn't there have been more updates? Am I doing something wrong? Do I need to update something myself? Or?
Nope. You just, because you're Windows 7, you no longer get optional updates. You get criticals only. And so they're going to be happening less and less often for you.
Okay.
And
there's still nothing really to worry about. Just maybe switch over to 10.
Well, at some point you're going to want to switch over. The official drop dead date, I don't remember exactly when it is, but it's mid-2017 for regular stuff and then 2020 for criticals.
Okay.
So all updates are going to stop in 2020 altogether. In fact, it'll be completely unsupported by then. And by that time, there's going to be no machines left. They're still running 7.
Oh, okay.
But
I better do something then.
But yeah, there's a bunch of security holes in 7, which is why they were pushing so hard for 10. So it's not a bad idea to move up anyway. And yeah, at some point you need to upgrade.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Thanks for the call, Debbie.
Thank you.
Now let's go ahead and talk to Tina. Hello, Tina. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm lovely.
Good, good. Hey, I was calling. I have a computer, and it's actually only 3, maybe 4 years old, so it's pretty new. And it looks like, I guess, my motherboard has gone out, and I took it to a computer shop to see if they could recover my data on my hard drive, because I have some pretty sensitive data.
Okay.
And I took it in, and I guess they ran whatever test they needed to run, and they could not recover really anything from it, at least not the files that I needed. And he was saying that I needed to do a deep data scan, and even then there would be no guarantee that he'd be able to pull any of that data. And we were actually, thinking about maybe taking the hard drive to somewhere else to see if they could possibly do it, because we kind of got the sneaky suspicion that maybe they just didn't want to do it. So I didn't know if that was true or if I should invest, because this really is some very important information I'd like to be able to pull off of that. What would you recommend?
Okay, just like with anything else, second opinions are a great idea.
Okay.
And so if you want, you can bring it down to us. We can take a look at it to see if anything's easily recoverable off the drive.
Okay, because I know the exact files that I would like to have recovered. Like I said, he was kind of using some computer lingo, and like about a CLI and some file structures he couldn't get into and things like that. So the raw format, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a computer person.
So let's
bringing it to you.
Let's cover a whole bunch of different things here. All right, just so everybody knows kind of what I'm thinking about as you're telling this story here. Now, as far as a motherboard failure is concerned, motherboard failures happen all the time. And by the way, at 3 to 4 years old, it's not necessarily a new machine anymore.
Really?
Right. Yeah. Basically, under 2 years is still considered new. Anything over that is it's middle aged, we'll say.
Wow. Okay.
Now, as far as motherboard failures are concerned, those don't happen real often, and they don't happen spontaneously generally. Right? There is something acting upon that which has caused it. So, how did you determine a board failure?
That's what he told me.
That's what he told you. Okay.
When we brought it in, yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, I don't want to disparage anyone, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that when you have a board failure due to a power supply failure, like power supply drops dead and it can take out the board with it. And that happens fairly often as far as power supply failures are concerned. And in some cases, it can also damage the drive that is in there because they're all powered off of the same power supply. So that can happen. The likelihood of it happening without some type of an electrical storm happening is pretty low, but it can happen, and I'm not willing to sound the alarms just yet based on the story that you're telling. Okay. Now, as far as here's the other thing, is that data recovery, especially advanced data recovery, does not happen in Tucson, right? There's nobody here that does advanced data recovery on a level that I would consider to be trustworthy or reliable. Okay. So even when we deal with data recoveries, if you bring down a drive to Computer Guru and there is a massive failure of some type on the drive, we send those out. There's a place in California that specializes in this thing. That's all they do. And we send them to them because we don't want to risk damaging the drive any further by attempting to run any type of recoveries on it. And we can tell pretty quickly if that's the case. Now, I would guess if it were just a board failure, right, nothing else failed, that it would be unlikely that we wouldn't be able to recover the data for you pretty easily. Now, if there's something else involved, like a power supply failure, which damaged the drive as well, then yeah, that might be something where we'd have to send it out. But in any case, do not trust anyone that says that they can do it locally. That type of data recovery, where you end up with, like a physical failure of the drive. There's nobody in town that can do that.
Okay, because he was saying I would need a deep data scan.
Yeah, and those run the risk of damaging the drive even further.
Okay.
And that's why we tell people to be careful whenever you're dealing with data recovery and dealing with anybody local, because those data scans, even though they can work, and in fact the likelihood of them working is relatively high. Let's say I'll make up a number here. Let's say that about 70% of the deep data scans might work, but that's that 30% that I'm more concerned about, where you're going to damage the drive irrecoverably.
Okay.
So. Now, here's the thing. Data recovery on that scale, where you have to send it off to a specialist like that, it's really pricey, right? You have to be, first of all, very, very sure that you actually want that data. And then secondly, the things to think about is, because we'll say that an average recovery is going to run you around $2,500 for a really thorough recovery, where they're actually able to get stuff. Now, of course, that's based on full recovery. The way that most of these places charge, there's only a couple in the country that specialize in this. If they get 100% of your data back, you're going to end up paying somewhere around $2,500. If they get 50% of it, then it's going to be 50% of that cost. Okay. Now, here's the thing to think about is that in most cases, some type of insurance is going to cover it. So if you have homeowners insurance, renters insurance, or business insurance, it's going to cover it under intellectual property loss.
Ah, okay.
So in most cases, you'll be able to just pay your deductible and get your data back. So, and that's the difference between dealing with somebody that deals with data recovery often and is more concerned about the safety of your data than about just getting money from you. So be careful with who you deal with when it comes to data recovery. And if you want a second opinion, bring it down to Computer Guru and we'll take a look at it.
And where are you located again?
Primary office is at 510 East Fort Lowell. It's first in Fort Lowell. And the secondary is at 64 North Harrison. That's Broadway and Harrison. Okay,
fantastic. And what are your hours of operation?
We're open 9 to 6 Monday through Friday and 10 to 5 today at Fort Lowell.
Okay, fantastic. You will be seeing me next week.
Excellent. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And you said my insurance should cover it. So do I need to after I bring it to you, I'll just wait until you let me know what I need to do, and then I can contact my insurance company?
Yeah, I would. I'd have a conversation with them and find out if intellectual property loss or digital property loss is covered under your plan. In most cases, it is. Intellectual property loss is something that is in most plans. You just might have to convince them that this type of data recovery is something that they should cover for you. And if your insurance agent is any good, they can make that happen for you. If not, I know a bunch of them and several good ones, and you can consider changing plans.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, great. But if you can recover it out of your office, you will try first there, and then you'll let me know if I need to take it for the the deep scan. Okay.
First, we have to make an assessment to find out whether or not it's viable for us to even touch the drive, to make sure that it's worth looking at without damaging the data. And if at any point that we feel like it's going to be a damaging process, we'll give you a call, let you know, and tell you what we think you should do as far as sending it off for data recovery.
Awesome. Okay, thank you, and that'll give me enough time to talk to my insurance person. Great. Thank you so much. You've been so helpful, and as I said, you'll see me next week.
Yeah, that'll teach you to go somewhere else first.
Oh, no. Like I said, I've already been someplace else, and like I said, just didn't get that warm and fuzzy, so I will be there.
All right. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You have a blessed day.
You too. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to take more of your phone calls when we get back at 790-2040.
Whether you're dealing with hardware installation or, heaven forbid, a virus,
No!
Mike Swanson is answering all your questions one by one, so call in or chat in with yours. The website, gurushow.com. Tune in, click in, and kick back. This is the Computer Guru Show on AM 1030 KVOY The Voice.
Welcome back to the Computer Guru Show. My name's Mike, here to deal with your technology needs and treat you like a person in the process. 790-2040 if you want to be part of the show. Charles is in the chat, and he was talking about how he's got machines that are 15 years old and still kicking along, and I think it's interesting. And he was saying that he's been replacing fans and hard drives and motherboards over the years. When is this not Theseus's ship? Right, there's a thought experiment that says that a ship of Theseus is sent out for them to explore the world. And through various repairs, the entire ship is, with the exception of a few key pieces, is replaced at sea. And when they come back, is it the same ship that they left on, or is it a new ship? And the same thing can be said here with Charles's computers of Theseus. If he's replaced nearly or all of the parts over the lifetime of the machine, is it the same machine? Is it 15 years old, or is it just as old as the oldest part on it? So I'm just curious. Thought experiment. It doesn't really mean anything. It just thought it was interesting that he's boasting about the age of the machines. Now, if you can make your machines last that long, that's great for the practical purpose of not having to buy another computer. But in this day and age, it's much more about the security of the machine than it is about the age of the machine. And if you've got a machine that's still running XP, and I'm still looking at you, Charles, then you've got a machine that doesn't have nearly the security it should have in order to operate on the internet in this day and age. You are a part of the problem when it comes to like the botnets. And sort of like Kent, because I got to call him out and throw him under the bus here. Kent was, you've got an 8-year-old router at your house.
Yeah, absolutely. What was that IP address again?
And it probably has the default admin credentials on it.
Admin or something like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, you have to be more concerned about the security of the thing, and you're thinking, well, it's just my machine and there's nothing on it. I don't worry about it. You have to worry about the security of others as well. If your machine can be hijacked and turned into a weapon for other people who are also connected to the internet, then you're also endangering others. So just stay on top of your security updates. And if you've got an operating system that is no longer supported, there's a reason that it is no longer supported. There's a reason that they sunset them, because otherwise they would just continue to let you use them forever and give you updates and sell you on you could keep it, all right? But no, you need to get new stuff.
My afternoon was clear.
Yeah, not anymore.
I know. Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
You're welcome. Let's go ahead and talk to Rick. Hello, Rick. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
What can I do for you?
Love your show and love your haircut.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I have a Avast and Spybot that I use on my computer. A friend who's a guru, same haircut as you,
trademarked
it. Are those pretty decent? What did you think?
I said guru's trademarked. Let's see. It was a joke.
I didn't say he was a legal guru.
As far as Spybot is concerned,
yeah,
I don't particularly care for Spybot. It's good for the occasional you install it, run your scan, and then uninstall it. But I really don't like the way that it runs in the background. Mainly because it's not nearly good enough to. It's not worth the resources it takes up while it's running, in my opinion. And it could be just a little bit of, there's a little bias on my part because for a while, a few years back, there was some real issues with Spybot causing all kinds of problems, it trying to be a little overly zealous.
Wow.
Which you really can't fault a software for being overly zealous, but at the same time, I think it takes up too much resources, especially if you've got Malwarebytes on there, which is the only one that I recommend anyway, then you don't need it. And it's kind of
Malwarebytes?
Malwarebytes.
Is that free?
Well, you shouldn't be. You should get the paid version.
Gotcha.
All right, that's the only piece of software I ever recommend that people buy. So you should buy that.
So I will assume that Avast is not recommended by you.
No, Avast is fine. We're totally okay with Avast as long as we like the one that's just antivirus. I'm not a big fan of the one that tries to do everything like Norton does.
Right.
So if it's just antivirus, like basic protection plus Malwarebytes, that's a great combination. So yeah, any free antivirus is fine in my opinion. With the combination of Malwarebytes on there as well, the paid version.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Have a lovely day. And your machine will run faster too, right? By getting rid of extraneous software that you don't necessarily need. And the idea of having multiple security softwares on your machine is it's counterproductive in my opinion. So.
That would be a swell way to fix it, or lovely, as you say.
Lovely. Yeah.
Rock. Thanks, sir.
Apparently, I need to change up the phrases I use when my descriptors for how my day is going. Yeah. So if you want to be able to make the machine run a little bit faster, then you can try using lighter antivirus, like because I don't like the ones like Norton and McAfee. I get that all the time where people are like, oh, by the way, everything I say on this show is my opinion exclusively, and it has nothing to do with the radio station or Computer Guru. It's just an opinion. I get the question all the time, what do you think about McAfee or Norton, or even Kaspersky or these other larger, heavier antiviruses? And they all have their pros and cons. But overall, I don't think they're worth the resource hogging that they do. I think that you get the same amount of protection off of something that's considerably lighter and for less money by doing something like the Malwarebytes Pro plus some free antivirus. And in my opinion, I think that works just as well. So, all right then. Let's go ahead and move on to the next thing. Vigilante. Let's get back to that. So this app allows you to basically see where crime is happening at that moment. And they have an interesting trailer video explaining how that, what they think their image should be when it comes to this. And it shows some woman that's walking down the street and she's being followed by people, and she contacts the police with her cell phone, and it pops up on this map. And then the offender is then confronted by other people who are looking at their cell phones, knowing where this person is, and being like, hey man, what's going on? And of course, everyone is unarmed in this video and scenario. And it turns out to just be a peaceful resolution. Dude, stops following the girl and walks away, and everything's great. But it's getting a lot of flack online for being a tool of mob justice, where some of the feedback on Twitter has been along the lines of, well, just more a way to make sure that people get shot of a specific ethnic minority, because now you've got everyone grabbing their guns and going after criminals. And I sort of disagree with that. I think that there's probably a likelihood that nobody will use this in that capacity. In fact, it's marketed on the Apple Store page as just a way to avoid places that have crime happening right now. So you want to stay away from there, not necessarily run towards it. Now we know that there's going to be instances where people run towards that type of danger rather than away from it. But I think it'll be pretty interesting to see what happens with this app and how it moves forward and evolves, and whether or not it'll even be allowed to stay on the Apple Store. They're pretty picky about what types of apps are allowed in there. I think it could be interesting. We'll see. I, for one, have a scanner app on my phone where we have the ability to, listen to police scanners from all over, EMS scanners, or any type of basically transmitted radio signals, and you can just pipe them into your phone and listen to whatever you want. And I think sometimes it's interesting to see, because they sort them by the number of listeners that are on there. You have the option to say, well, I'm going to go ahead and listen to, like the Los Angeles Police Department, because for some reason there's 20,000 listeners right now where there's normally like 500. So something is happening there, and you get to listen to see what's happening. I don't know. I haven't done that in a long time, but there is that option there. Which one do you think we should go with first here, Kent, while we take some calls here? All right, let's go ahead and talk to Marv. Hey, Marv, how are you?
Hi.
Hey, what can I do for you?
Well, I got an invoice from you, and it said I can pay it online, and I brought it up and put the invoice number in there. It won't let me put the amount number in, but then when I say pay invoice, it comes up and wants $31,000.
Oh, yeah? That's lovely. Well, obviously that is some type of a mistake. I can't imagine that an invoice would even be generated for that amount of money. But the
amount just happens to be the same as the invoice number.
Oh, okay. So here's what we'll do. I'm going to put you on hold here. We'll have Kent get all your pertinent information so I can pass it along to the billing department and get that fixed for you.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Marv. Thanks for letting me know. I mean, he could have just paid the $31,000, but I guess this will have to do.
Well, you're not going to get it from mine.
All right, I appreciate it, Marv. Let's go ahead and move on to Philip. Hello, Philip. How are you?
All right, Mr. Mike. Am I foolish for paying for Google Music? And if yes, what's a better alternative?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as to say foolish. I mean, what do you get out of it? You get music, right?
Well, I thought about it. I thought my money is actually going for them to continue to work on the app and the interface between user and music sources.
Right.
Is that true?
Sort of. I mean, anytime you're using any Google product, you're involved in development in some way.
Right. So I thought that's where my money would be going, hopefully, to make it continually getting better for the user. I haven't seen it happen yet, but
yeah, well, the music industry is involved, so that makes it pretty hard. I don't know. I mean, I don't pay for any of those types of services. I occasionally pay for like the Pandora app every once in a while, just because I like not having commercials. I don't know that Google Music is. I mean, it's not a huge expenditure either.
Well, what I'm looking for is maybe there's a system out there that'll help me search music that I don't know about. I know how to get the ones I do know, but there's a lot more I'd like to listen to, but I just don't know where to start.
Well,
Google doesn't really facilitate that.
That's sort of Pandora's kind of niche market. That's how they started out.
Yes.
So, all right. So let me give you history on Pandora, and I don't know if you know it, but maybe somebody doesn't. But Pandora started out with something called the Music Genome Project. And it was basically trying to figure out, it was a study that was being done in a college that was basically trying to figure out why people like certain types of music. And so what they did is they built this algorithm, and in the beginning they had people manually putting in the details of the songs, like the beats per minute, or whether or not there was violins in it, or female vocals, or tempo, upbeat, minors or majors, all kinds of different criteria to find out what people liked about music. And what Pandora's calling card is that they will take, as you train it, as you have the opportunity to train it and tell it, I like this song or don't like this song, it is at that point supposed to say, suggest new music to you that it thinks you might like based off of the other criteria. And so that's an option for you to take a look into. And Pandora's free if you don't mind the commercials.
That sounds like a good thing for me to explore. Thank you.
All right. I appreciate the call. So let's go ahead and move along to Mark. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for your great show. And anyway, my mouse pad on my laptop has gone out on me again. And so how do I set that back up? There was some easy, quick fix to reestablish the link with reactivate the mouse pad.
Okay. What kind of laptop is it?
It is a Gateway.
Does it have a physical button for turning the mouse pad on and off? I'm not
that
familiar
I
with
know
your
of.
machine, Mark. So
Okay.
it may, if you took it into the shop and they showed you how to do it. I don't know which one
So
is
you
yours.
actually stepped me through it over the phone one time.
Okay, so there's generally some type of a button or a hotkey to turn it on and off. So like a function button, and then there might be one of the F keys should have some sort of an icon that looks like a square or looks like the touchpad in some manner or method. And that would allow you to turn that thing on or off.
Oh, all right. I thought it was something I had to go into the some sort of a setup and.
In some cases, it may be. I'm going with the simplest solution first. But Howard's down at the shop. You want to give him a call, and he can. I'm sure he was probably involved with your last phone conversation regarding this. You can give him a call at 304-8300, though.
All right, and also anything new on the difference between, or what's better, the Google Pixel XL versus the Galaxy Samsung.
I'm saving that one for Rob because he's been looking into the mobile phones. So we're going to save that one for next week when Rob's in.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for your show.
Thanks for the call, Mark. I appreciate it. We got to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll wrap up the show here. The end of the nerdiness for 2 weeks or for a week. Be right back.
I've been up, I've been down, take my word, my way around. I ain't asking for much.
Computer troubles? Need some advice? Call in now. Mike Swanson will be back after these messages. The Computer Guru Show, AM 1030, KVOY, The Voice. Your technology guru, Mike Swanson, is answering all your questions one by one.
Yes, science!
So chime in with yours. The website is gurushow.com. Tune in, click in, and kick back. This is the Computer Guru Show.
Welcome back to the Computer Guru Show. Just want to take a moment to recognize our sponsors. That would be Perfection Auto Works. You can visit their website at perfectionautoworks.com. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Also, Desert Pro Commercial Cleaning. You can go to desertprocommercialcleaners.com, and you can check them out. They are a Patreon sponsor, and they're normally, Tara's here to do her normal read. But they're great for supporting us on Patreon, and you can too. You can go to patreon.com/Guru Show or just go to Guru Show and check out the links there. It's an opportunity for you to basically donate as little as $1 a month to help keep the show on the air and pay the bills here. So any little amount helps, and we appreciate your support there because it gives us the opportunity to provide hopefully useful information and a bit of entertainment on a Saturday afternoon to try to help people out. And so thank you very much for taking the time and giving up your hard-earned resources to keep the show on the air. So, thank you very much. It's, TucsonDesertPro.com, by the way, because Tara's in the chat. She just put it in there.
Where's Tara?
I get it wrong every time. Yeah. My job is to fix computers, not to remember things.
And she rattles it off just like right off the end of it.
I know. It's sort of built in for her, I guess, but she's been doing it long enough. How long has she been? Like 2 years she's been saying this. So, they do a great job. They actually clean the East Side location, so you can go over to Harrison and check out the handiwork that they do over there. And the place is always beautiful. So, and it's really affordable. And that's the other thing that I should probably put in there. It's in fact, it's less money than I thought I should have to pay them for the work that they do to clean it. I don't know that I really want to tell them that, but it is super affordable. So it's pretty nice. So anyway, thanks for taking the time to listen to the Computer Guru Show this week. Make sure that you go visit our other channels. You can visit the website at gurushow.com, or you can go to the YouTube channel and subscribe there. That really does help us out, even though you might not think it does. Also, you can visit azcomputerguru.com for information on my day job, or give us a call at 304-8300. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Computer Guru Show. If you did, please consider sharing it with your friends and subscribing to this channel if you haven't already. Your subscription helps us reach new audiences and expand the show in new directions. Please also consider supporting us on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can help the Computer Guru Show expand into a longer format, as well as support the production of new content for this channel. Links are in the description below, and thank you again. We'll see you next week.